Foundation Course Kabbalah, Part 2, Lesson 27, Rabbi Michael-ben-Pesach, Portnaar. In search of the holy place, but is there something like a holy place? The holy place is your heart. The holy temple is in your heart. Someone who still belongs to the mass mind thinks that he can go to a place that this place will do all the work for him, all the work which he doesn't want to do himself, just for free. He thinks, I'll buy a ticket and go to that holy place. I'll get that experience. God will love me, etc., etc. But it doesn't work that way. We see the same in every religion. People go to Rome, to the St. Peter's Square, or they go to Jerusalem, to the Western Wall of the temple. Look how piously they pray over there. But it's like eating a cookie. In 2 hours you will be hungry again. Nothing remains, only a good feeling. Some go to Tibet, or to other holy places, wherever. We never speak about religions. We need to spiritually grow up. Don't think a place sanctifies man. Man sanctifies a place. God himself has given us this message in Jerusalem at the temple, which only the Western Wall remained. It's no coincidence that it was the Western Wall that remained. God himself has shown us it were that we need to do because the temple was destroyed by God himself. We learn this from Ari. The Babylonians or Romans just finished the job. A flame came from above. The temple was destroyed by the Creator himself because if a person is no good, then the place isn't worth anything. Of course, the place where the temple is holy. But we can experience absolutely nothing of it as long as we are not connected. We can experience absolutely nothing. Of course, we can experience a little sentiment, etc. But before we have finished correcting ourselves, we cannot use the holiness of the place. This is very important, and this is fully consistent with the principle or law. Nothing is brought about from above, before man from below asks for it. You can sit and wait until something comes, but nothing comes from above. First, you have to awaken yourself, and therewith also awaken the strengths in the higher worlds, so they will come to a confluence, just like the male and female. Then the abundance, light, goodness comes to you, to your heart, and to our world. Look what people will do for it. 2 million people standing at the St. Peter's Square all day long for 24 hours with full dedication. This lesson was given when Pope John Paul XI died. How much strength a person has to use to do so, to be there. In itself, it is a good intent. A person believes and goes to that place. And yet it is in contradiction with what the prophet has said. The prophet in whom they believe. The prophet said, "Who follows me?" And one of his disciples said, "I want to follow you, Rabbi. But let me first go home and bury my father." Then the prophet said, "Let the dead bury their dead." The same it should have been here. A simple funeral somewhere in the earth. I'm not saying that it should be like that, but there is truth and there is untruth. There is serving the only creating strength or serving someone else, an organization. I read all kinds of articles in the press, and everywhere it said he served the church. The Pope served the church, but this is comparable to someone of whom they say that he served the Communist Party, or in the south of Italy they serve another clan. Nowhere it is said that this magnificent person who showed full dedication and who had been through a lot served the Creator. Of course, he served the Creator, but it was mentioned nowhere in the press that he served the only creating strength. He served the church. The church was, or the church has, as it were, its own life. It has its own existence, while it should be a servant of the only creating strength, of Avaya, and not anything else. The synagogue as well. My brothers who go to the synagogue on Shabbat and holidays call this honorary service. I could not handle it, this word honorary service. They don't call it God's service, but honorary service. They show honor to one another and also ask for honor from each other. Therefore, they call it honorary service. They do nothing else than honorary service. It's very important what I mean to tell you. Of course, it is beautiful what happens there. They show enormous enthusiasm and devotion. From a human point of view, it's very good, but we need to try to let the inner reconcile with what we do on the outside, with hand and feet. If someone stands there for 24 hours whereby he doesn't think of that dead body, which is worth nothing anymore, but he thinks about why he's standing there, and he says to himself, I want to purify myself through this and come closer to the Creator, and he keeps his mind on one thing, namely the source of life in himself, then that will keep him safe from sinning. Because if you are there and you feel very important and good just because you are standing there, then it might be your ego that brought you to that place, or any other holy place. Your ego might have sent you to that holy place so you will not work on yourself. Why not? Here's a very important secret. The holy place is, of course, holy. It doesn't matter. You go to the holy place and you know it's holy. You go there and you're standing there, and of course you come to delight. It gives you a good feeling, and the feeling of being closer to the source of life. At those places, our evil principle, our ego, is being held very silent. To whatever holy place you go, the ego is held silent there. Why? There is so much strength there, good strength, that the evil becomes invisible, and this you feel, and you project this on yourself. Of course, you will then say, I've had a great experience, a divine experience. Why? Your ego doesn't work. It's not active. It has been put in the fridge, as it were, while you're at the holy place. Of course, you then feel good because you connect yourself to what is good in yourself. You don't feel the not fully corrected part in yourself at that holy place. And through this, you have this experience. Of course, everything good comes there, but you didn't cause it. You receive it without any effort. Everybody, including myself, has to be very careful at holy places, because the more holiness, the more impurity. They are always next to each other. There is not only holiness, salvation, or glory. That is very dangerous, because the world was created with two things, rachamim and din, mercy and severity. Both are necessary. In the eyes of the Creator, both are necessary in order to experience the true reality, and not just holiness. For instance, you are in Jerusalem and you feel holy. You're standing with your head against the holy wall, then you experience enormous things, but that is not you. You don't experience it through your own kilim. You experience the story that you have read. It's not you, and that is unfortunate. Do you understand? It's a pity that it's not you who experiences it. It's not you and your own kilim that you must experience from the Creator, but a story. So therefore it was necessary that the temple was destroyed. The Creator himself destroyed his own temple, because otherwise no nation could do that. The Jews, of course, started sinning. Sinning means they didn't meet the high demands that are imposed on this people. So of course the temple was destroyed by the Creator himself, and look what he didn't destroy. Only the western wall remained. It was for 100% miraculous what happened there. But now look at the Jews and others. They go to the wall to pray, and they leave messages in little papers. They ask, do this, do that. Of course, for a person who belongs to the mass mind, it's good, but you shouldn't do that. Just one wall remained. What did the Creator mean to tell us, like a lesson? That the temple which was destroyed is like my heart, that has been torn to all sides. What is holy? Holy means kadosh. Holy means being separated. To separate yourself, and that doesn't mean to separate yourself from the society, but inner separation. To make a place in your heart, and that is called temple. Jew means the altruistic wish in man, something that longs for the Creator. When a Jew misbehaves, meaning that he doesn't long for the Creator and tries to receive egoistically, then he experiences certain strengths. In his heart comes strengths like the Babylonians. This means that in his temple, in his heart, come images from the Babylonians or the Greek, and they conquer his heart. This is what is said, that the temple is being conquered by Babylonians. We have 4 exiles. The domination by the Babylonians, the Persians, the Greek, and the Romans. It means that the strengths of the Romans or Persians, etc., come in the heart, and in the holy heart. It also means that the temple which was put on earth was meant to be the temple of everything that is good and holy, and corresponds to the strengths of the universe. The Jewish people, who were responsible for carrying out the holiness, have neglected this in their lives, in their behavior, and so the strengths came that contributed to the destruction of the temple. The Greek brought sculptures to the temple, and others brought pigs. Why? There is the law, quality against quality. When you mess up your heart, you sin in your heart. Then you get pigs in your heart and your temple. First the pigs come in your heart, and then in your temple, and then the temple is destroyed. That is the message that is given to us from above when we come to the Temple Mount. When we are standing in front of the temple, the wall, and you stand there with these thoughts and you don't feel mollified by you want to ask for correction, then it's totally different. Then it is a favorable moment, a favorable place. But if you only come from your own feeling, what is feeling, when I feel a blockage in myself, and then I have problems all day long, then I feel like the whole world is no good. That is a feeling. Or suddenly win a lottery ticket, and then you feel that the whole world is good for you. All that is wishful thinking and not resistant. We solely speak about absolute resistant things, whereby we come closer and permanent to the experiencing the eternal. That's what it is about. Not that we do it once and then we go back down again, but through an increasing longing, a terrible longing for salvation, we can experience more and more permanent the eternity every day. People love formulas. Drawing 27, temple, TH, is a function of correction. CP is personal correction, and then I have the temple in my heart. Please refer to the drawing in the written materials, and it will be discussed a bit later. The personal temple in my heart is a function of my correction, analogy. As I do more corrections of myself, then I also build the temple in my heart. Remember, we have said, there is nothing in the particular which is not in the general, and vice versa. In the smallest detail you can find the whole creation. The whole universe can be found in the smallest element. So the temple, of course, so the temple of the whole mankind is also a function of correction of the whole numeration of mankind, nothing else. It is all very simple, but only if we do good. So that is the temple, and the temple also means to be complete, wholeness in your heart, whereby all your strengths are directed towards one goal, to serve the eternal. If you serve him, then he serves you. Simple. Quality against quality. It is very simple. You have to serve him, not an organization, not a clan, not a religion. Religion is good as well, because otherwise it wouldn't exist, but only until a person wants to become spiritually mature in his inner. That spiritual wish to become mature is also given from above. We also see people who, for instance, Russian Jews, came to Israel. I don't speak about the Zionists who very much wanted to go to Israel because that is political engagement. In Russia, there were very great rabbis, very good and fine rabbis and Kabbalists as well, and they went to Israel because the time of the salvation is coming. They thought they could force it by coming to that holy place and force their fulfillment or accelerate it. Often they got disappointed. In Russia, those people were suppressed. The religion was forbidden, and through this they obtained holiness. The outer obstacles made them feel their inner obstacles. It's all about doing your inner corrections to correct your inner ego, your self-love. That is the only thing we have to do. They came to Israel and thought they would receive their fulfillment, and then they didn't get it. A great Jewish poet from Russia from the early 20th century named Beadik also came to Israel. He was a very great poet, just like Byron from England, or Molière from France, or Pushkin from Russia. So he came to Israel, and he also thought he would come to fulfillment in Israel. This very great poet went there, and he came to the absolute disappointment in his life. The deepest disappointment, the deepest disappointment is only a step away from perfectness. The deepest disappointment is only one step away from perfectness, if one dares, of course. When someone wants to be pampered, then such a disappointment becomes fatal. He wrote in one of his poems, "The stars have weighed on me. There was a dream, and that is also over, and now I have nothing in the world, absolutely nothing." We must see that he longed for holiness, but he didn't get it, because not the place sanctifies man, but man sanctifies the place. Always remember that, and not let your feelings and sentiments persuade you to believe something else. If you go to a real sacred place, then you have to be very careful, because there's also the dog watches, your self-love. It tells you, go there, you're so good, so holy, so be careful, because when you learn Kabbalah, you have to work very hard. You will not be pampered. Everything is in yourself, and you have to do the work day after day. Why you're not pampered during the Kabbalah lessons? Because the world exists in a certain way, and we don't want to think about the world different than it is. No wishful thinking, but only the true reality. There are two things, din and rachamim. The left side is din, severity, justice, and that is holy too. Justice and severity are absolutely holy. Also, rachamim, mercy, is holy. So holiness has two sides, both. You can't say that severity is no good and that you don't want severity, but only mercy, love. Thereby you corrupt your ways, and the ways of the Creator, you corrupt them. Why? The world doesn't exist that way. Always keep that in mind. The world, man are the same. The world and man are the same. Two things. To the right is rachamim, mercy, faith, love. To the left is din, justice, severity, judgment, Elohim. What we call it when it is or feels severe, just like the laws of nature. Both are holy strengths in the creation. That is how he wanted it to be. He did not create the world with only rachamim. Of course, that is his quality above all. But later, when the light comes down, it is being divided in these two. And all our work is right and left. Right and left. Both are necessary. The impure strengths, of course, attach themselves to the left side. Impure strengths are also relevant for our development. You can't say, I don't want to experience impure strength. Then you also can't experience holiness. They're always side by side. The more holiness, the more impure strengths show themselves. But we have to overcome, time after time, always. After the temple has been destroyed, all the good, all the strengths have fallen down, as it were. And the same it is within us. We all come from Adam. Adam sinned, and his sons Cain and Abel were already the bearers of good and evil, of the mixture of good and evil. We all have good and evil, but as a mixture. What we do every day and the meaning of our work is to take from this mixture that is low in us the sparks of holiness, or the good, and bring it upwards. All the 6,000 corrections, the same as 6,000 years. We have to do something. We have to do nothing else. We have to do these corrections, bring upwards what has been violated. And of course, a lot has been violated in history. Of course, it wasn't the plan of the Creator to let us suffer for all these thousands of years. And of course, he didn't do it that Adam and Chava started sinning. That came through human failings. Or not, it doesn't matter. Through the will of man to develop himself. It is all about the middle line. Our task is left and right. Both left and right are good for us. And through the interaction between these two comes the middle line. And that is what Torah is. That is all our work, left and right. Too much severity is not good, and too much mercy, love without verification is not good either. Therefore, if we go to a holy place, we only feel our right side. We feel as if someone takes care of us, like our mother does. We only feel rachamim. That is deceptive. Why deceptive? We don't feel the left side. We only feel rachamim, and my ego, my self-love, will project this on me. How good I am. Why? My self-love switches off my own shortages. While visiting a holy place, my self-love covers up before my eyes my own shortages, and then I feel holy. But when I return to my own true reality, my own true situation, condition, then I, of course, will fall and feel bad, have depressions, etc., all kinds of unpleasant things. This also occurs when you go to congresses, wherever in the world. Even congresses that were meant to be holy. Always pay attention. When you go to Israel to a congress, or wherever, always be careful, because when you return home, you will have a breakdown. Why? You were somewhere attending a congress. They made you feel good because everybody wanted to be good. Nobody wanted to know about their own shortages. They were enormously positive strengths. You were there for some days and nobody showed their own shortages. And this, of course, has enormous impact on you. It's just like you get an injection and you feel enormous strength, but that is not you. The working of that stuff stops after you return home from the seminars, or congresses, or Rome, or that holy place, or whatever you have been. You return home and you might feel it for another 2 weeks. Why? The rachamim, the love which you experience there, still warms your heart, but after these 2 weeks it will gradually pass, depending on yourself, and then you get to see your true self. And only then, after having experienced all that love, you see how ugly your self-love is. Therefore, what I want to say is, when you go to a holy place, or a place that pretends to be holy, be careful, because the more holiness you experience there, the more dangerous it is, because you only see rachamim. You're with people who only show you love, but indirectly everything works. It is fake. They only show you love because nobody wants to show their true self. With the self, I mean the uncorrected self. But it works. His own negativity, though we don't experience it. Let's say you are with somebody attending a congress, or you're at the temple wall, or whatever. That person is also good at that moment. He gives you that rachamim. He elevates himself to love, and at the same time, when he elevates himself to the good, in himself he also elevates his left side, because they are always side by side. They are always side by side. It's not that there is holy and the other one is mastered. You have to work on yourself. We have to work on ourselves and not just go to a place that has an effect on me. He goes to a place and gets an exalted feeling from his right side, love. And the left side, din, he doesn't experience, but that also goes upwards. That also grows. What does that mean, grows? My ego. What is ego? Everywhere where my self-love sees candy, it will come immediately to eat it. That's the way it is. It just wants to have candy and profit from you. It is the biggest profiteer, our self-love. So when you're at a congress, or at the wall, or at a holy place, your feeling for love and mercy will go up. But your self-love also grows because it wants to grab some of it, but you don't experience it. You're in the dominating environment of rachamim, mercifulness. You're being pampered, as it were, but you can't be pampered all the time. Later, when you go home, the environment of rachamim, the mercy, the holy, is gone. But the other one, din, severity, has always been there, even when you were standing at the temple wall, and now he shows himself. Why? When you're at the temple wall, you receive extra light, and now you return home. The additional light that you received at the temple, or wherever leaves because it doesn't receive any nutrition anymore, it wasn't your merit that you received it, but it was because you were at the temple or wherever. Everybody there wanted to be good. And after that, the rachamim leaves. The light is gone, and when there is no light, then you see yourself. That's why I say that you can only see the truth when you are at home alone with yourself. Always pay attention. It's like this. There's no middle path. The Creator makes the middle path. We can't make the middle path. We can't search for the middle path. We can be left or right. We hop between left and right. The Creator makes the middle line. But life is too short to play act. So you give 100% or you continue to play act. There's no path in between. Therefore, you have to be very careful, because your ego and mine as well will bring us to sin time after time. Every moment our self-love wants to tear us apart. Our self-love attaches to the left side, din, severity, justice, and of course justice, severity is good. Everything is perfect, but it attaches itself to the left side. Our self-love attaches to the din, and it wants to tear you apart every single moment. It wants to tear apart your true self, your eternal self. To tear you apart means that it will try to get you to sin. This applies to everyone. That's why Jewish men wear the talit. We need to protect ourselves from the front and from behind against sinning. Every Jew, every person needs to pay attention to this. We need those four: Chokhmah, Bina, Ze'ah, and Malchut. Everything is four except the Keter. That is real protection. That is Torah. Of course, not the talit itself. What does this mean? When you go to sleep, you take it off. But during daytime, when you wear the talit, you have to see it. And of course, you have to know what it is. I'm not saying that I know what it is, but I learn about it. And when you learn what it is, and you regularly look at it, then it will protect you. How can it protect you? When I look at it, I make an inner movement. An inner movement, I look at it briefly, and I see, it means Chokhmah, Bina, Ze'ah, and Malchut. Also the Gematria. I connect them with each other, a certain relation to each other, whereby again I'm focused and concentrated on the only creating strength. That will keep me from sinning less and less. The great Kabbalists of all times also needed it. It is not true that you feel that you are corrected always Your self-love lies in wait to let you sin. What is self-love? It can only live by letting you sin, because when you sin, the self-love will use the strength, the holy strength, for itself. Improper use. It's a thief. The intention is that we bring upwards more and more strengths, holy strengths, because when we don't give rise to the self-love, and when we don't respond to the temptations of self-love, then it has nothing to eat, nothing to consume, but always something is given to the self-love until man has fully corrected himself. This is to give us the chance to correct ourselves. Impure strengths, there is nothing wrong with impure strengths, because that's also where the holy sparks are. So every man, not just Jews, but all man, should wear a talit. I also have to look at it, always. The laws are for all mankind. A man has more corrections and more responsibilities, which we don't see, whereby a man also gives to a woman. That's very special. That also means a kind of, or makif, a sort of surrounding light, whereby Ze'ah, Zeir Anpin, gives to Malchut. The Malchut is, when we compare this with man, lower than Zeir Anpin, Ze'ah, and you have to give from the top down. When I look at it, directly something happens to me. I make an inner effort, and I have the direct contact, and at that moment I receive salvation, real salvation. Why? Salvation from what? From the situation I'm in. My strengths are, there are pigs in my heart, all kinds of impure strengths. What are impure strengths? All kinds of thoughts, seductive and tempting thoughts. Who is safeguarded from adulterous thoughts? Who? Do you think that this great Pope who passed away wasn't constantly subjected and exposed to these thoughts? This applies to everyone. Why? This is how the world was made, and we must overcome. Not one single saint ever didn't have to go through this and offer resistance to these temptations. It's not a Jewish faith or whatever. Because of the fact that we are so weak, we have to do and see things that remind us of holiness, we have to be very, very careful. Everything is in our hands. There is the law. Nothing comes from above if it's not caused from below. You think that it will come someday. Nothing comes. You have to make efforts and have an enormous ambition to overcome your self-love. Nobody escapes. You can't say, not now. I will do this in the next life. It doesn't work that way. It has also been written, you can't say, I want to relax in this life and I'll postpone my spiritual work to a next life. Then your suffering will also be increased. Do you want to increase the suffering for the next generation? We speak of situations, conditions, and development of man. For instance, look at the tree that bears fruit, let's say apples. It has a lot of fruit, and suddenly an apple is ripe. What will the gardener do? He will pick it from the tree. Every day he will pick new ripe apples from the tree. He won't even look at the others because they are still ripening. They still belong to the mass mind. They are not counted. The gardener picks the ripe fruit, and then they are counted because then it is a ready-made product that can already be counted because it's an individual. All the other apples are still hanging on the tree. They're still a bit sour and unripe. You can't eat them yet. It's of course understandable that they will flock with millions at once to a sacred place because they are not counted yet in their situation. Not yet. But all will be counted. Do you know, understand, there's no higher or lower. We don't speak of groups, but someone who's already ripe to work on his personal development, the real work. Or they are still green, unripe fruit. They all identify themselves with the mass. They all hang on the tree, all mass. But they also will come to the wish to become ripe. We also aren't ripe yet, but something in our heart is already awakened, something that gives us the wish to become ripe. That was a little bit about the concept of holiness and holy places, etc. Be aware that you are not taken over by all kinds of sentiments that have their effect on us. They want to make us feel good and to make us give in to the desires of our self-love. So be very careful. The rule of thumb is if someone tells you, let's go there, we'll receive holiness, or we will get help with the spiritual and miracles will happen to us, and you don't have to make an effort to overcome your self-love, then it's a sham. So if someone tells you this and proposes you to do something whereby you don't have to make an inner effort to overcome yourself, to do the work within, to overcome your self-love, then it's worth nothing. then it's commercial chat or whatever. Don't listen to that. What is meant by efforts? That you learn the teachings yourself and that you learn to live it. I have criticized my brethren so much for doing the prescriptions blindfolded with hand and feet, yet today I showed you that I also make use of the talit, not blindfolded, but with the intention to correspond to the laws of the universe. What is meant by inner efforts? That you pay attention to what you think, what you feel, what is overpowering you, who wants to take control over you, who wants to determine your fate, every moment of every day, day and night, 24/7. Of course, when you sleep, you are not in control, but as long as you are awake, meaning that your eyes are open, you have to be aware of this. An absolute awareness. Don't fall back in your feelings. Feelings are very, very dangerous. Of course, feelings are not coming from you. Feelings come from above, within you. You feel this. You feel that. For instance, when you have a constipation and you can't go to the toilet, then something caused that. You're not feeling well. You need to handle your feelings carefully, but don't attach yourself to them. Don't cling to your feelings. Don't give it too much value. They shouldn't be crucial to you. The only thing that should be crucial to you are the laws of the universe. They are eternal. This is the eternal life and not your bound to time feelings, who come because of a certain condition. Nothing good can come to you. Nothing holy can come to you if you don't put in the effort. It is a reward for your efforts. That is meant by inner efforts. If you don't know the purpose of your existence, the purpose of the creation, then of course it is hard for someone to make efforts. Because, for what reason? Therefore, we do need to learn the teachings, because the strength of the teachings will make notches within you whereby it becomes easier for the light of correction to shine through you. It sees through you and pulls upwards the sparks of holiness, and so less strength remains clinging to the evil principle. The whole purpose is that evil principle only lives through our sins, nothing else. We have to do our inner work and pay attention that we try not to give a chance to the evil principle, the self-love, our ego, and reversed, we have to try to fulfill the prescriptions. The most part you do at home. You receive 5% in the lesson, highly concentrated, and the rest you do at home. It's about your soul and not for something else. Not follow me. That are the efforts. Make efforts to be careful and not to fall into the allegations and the temptations of your self-love. That is the work that has been given to man, nothing else. Thereby we become man. That's the work. If someone tells you, do this or go there, or I know somebody, then you have to be alert. Also, when someone asks you to do a miracle for him, not one Kabbalist does something like that, even if he can influence certain strengths. Be careful, because if he didn't deserve it, you give him something that he can't digest. That's a dangerous thing. Someone told me that there is a rabbi in Canada who opens a small version of the Torah and browses through it, and then suddenly he gives it to the other person after putting in a bookmark, hocus pocus. Then that person goes home and he opens that book and he reads what is written at that place where the bookmark is, which came from above and was meant for him, his miracle as it were. So do the gurus, exactly the same. Stay far away from these things. Don't ever trust anything else, because if you don't have to do inner work, the work on yourself, then it's worth nothing. It won't help. Always keep an eye on your self-love. You can't destroy your self-love. In your self-love, there's still something of your holy sparks, and you have to produce strengths to bring upwards these holy sparks. You are not allowed to destroy your impure strengths, because then they will destroy you first. So this means that you have to learn how to deal with them. You can't say, I flee and I will fasten till the bitter end, or I will go to a monk's retreat, or I will go somewhere completely shut off from the outside world, because there the self-love won't come. You always carry your self-love with you wherever you go. You can't flee from it. That is impossible. Don't flee. You can't flee from it. When you flee to a holy place or a vacation, you always take your self-love with you, but you don't feel it because you're surrounded by love and all kinds of other external affections whereby it is impossible to work on yourself. That is lost time. Even when you go on a holiday, you have to work on yourself. You can pamper yourself a bit, but always remember that you have to work on yourself. In the beginning, it seems if you lose a little of your spontaneity. So it seems, but the more you work on yourself, you will see that you will be protected against the accusations of your self-love, and you will sin less. To sin means to give into your self-love, and that will pull you down. You will fall, and you'll get all kinds of situations in misery, and you won't progress. There's no movement in satisfying the wish whispered by self-love. Remark of a student. But is it important to know that this wish is alive in you? Reply. Whatever comes to mind is your raw material. Everything that comes to mind comes from above, from the Creator. Everything that comes to mind is the raw material that also gives you a signal of what you have to correct. Life is solely in the now, so every moment you live has to be in the now. This moment, not in the past, not 2 weeks ago, when you were at a holy place and you felt a certain ambience to which you still cling. Life is solely now, but you cling to a moment from the past. Even if you remember the most holy moments for yourself, don't cling to it, because at that moment you sin with respect to the eternal creating strength and your own fulfillment. When you think of a miracle, it is in the past. It's done. You went to a place. Today, you're not. Today, I live over again. New corrections, new wishes rise up in you every moment to be corrected by you. Look at man. What power has been given to man when man learns to work on himself? Take your life seriously. Serious means that all that comes to your mind, that you shouldn't be absorbed by feelings, but that you should investigate what it is all about. Who is talking? Is it my ego, my self-love trying to take me over and pamper me, or is it something that will promote my true self? Always think of these things, and when you learn to use this, then you will find a great mechanism in yourself and salvation. We have said that Kabbalah must give you salvation, but don't learn it as something that has a life of its own, but it's your work to refine yourself. To refine means to bring the best stuff up and leave what is impure below. Therewith you purify all that. That's the work, whether you learn Kabbalah or not. Of course, when you learn, you will progress step by step. You will gradually see the whole structure. That will help you. Later, when we talk about something, we can indicate all the processes of the corrections with these terms. Look how many words I need to tell simple things, while when you learn Kabbalah, just a few words or half words will be sufficient. You will feel the highly concentrated information with a lot of light. Jew or not, corrections are very important for us. Everything is based on the laws of the universe. Questions are an important issue. I have been given the task to give you the method, but the work on yourself you have to do yourself. You have to do your own spiritual work. I can't do the work for somebody else. I give what I can give, but I give the method. What is the way to ask questions? If you have a question, it has to come from your need, your despair. That is a question. Something that hurts, that's a question, and not why this or why that. That, of course, is important too, but the question has to come from the deepest place in yourself and not from the surface. Why? For instance, you ask me a question, something simple. Your question doesn't come from the depth in yourself, the deep layers of your inner, but from the surface. I give you an answer, and that answer gives saturation. A question is shortage, and the answer is nutrition, as it were. If you ask from the surface and not from the deep layers of your inner, then the answer is like a seed that lays in the upper soil. The answer only enters as deep as the surface, and it can't bear fruit. Only the answers to the questions that come from the depth in yourself, from the deepest layers in yourself, will go through the layers of your personality to that question, and then that seed will not rot. The answer to that question stays deep within you, and then it can bear fruit. Your questions have to be general, not your actual situation. You have to solve your actual situation yourself. How to deal with that situation. Your questions have to be fundamental. We learn the principles in the lessons, and you apply them at home in your daily life. Your question has to be focused, and it can have all sorts of content. The intention has to be to try to get strength to fill or compensate the shortage you have in your battle with your self-love. Everything revolves around one thing: not to sin and to do the right thing. First, it is all about not to sin. First, we learn not to sin, and then we learn how to do good. Nothing else exists. Nothing more has been given to man than this work. To work with this self-love and to overcome his self-love, in order that you can say at the end of your life, I have overcome him. That is what it's all about. And it has been given to everyone, to every person, absolutely. Protect yourself against your self-love. A teacher also has to be very, very careful with the passing on of what he gives. Rachamim, the right side, mercy, love. Din, left side, justice, severity. Question: is Yetzer Tov, the good principle in man, of the same level as Rachamim, and is Yetzer Ra, the evil principle in man, of the same level as Din? Answer: no. It's not that simple. It's a good question. I have to explain it more. For the self-love, the right side is useless. It finds no taste there because for the self-love, real true love, mercy, is tasteless. Self-love is a strength, and it has to draw strength from somewhere. Mercy is a strength that comes from above. It is light. Light that comes from above, a good and holy strength. Evil strengths draw their strength from the good. They live off the good. It abuses the good, as it were. That is the evil principle. So the self-love has no interest in the mercy, love. For example, if a person wants to show mercy to another person, the self-love feels nothing there. If I want to show mercy to another person, do I therewith feed myself? Do I therewith feed my self-love? No. If I want to be good to another person, I thereby feed my self-love? No. The self-love only comes nutrition when I do something for myself. What is self-love? Self-love means that I receive something for myself. Selfish, and when I do something good. I try to be merciful, then my self-love flees from it. It feels no taste there. The self-love only feels taste when I want something for myself, because then it draws strength from it. The evil principle or impure strengths always come sucking where there is a shortage of strengths. Shortage is all that has less than 10 sfirot. Everything has 10 sfirot in itself, but everything can perceive 10 sfirot. Everything exists of 10 sfirot. But for example, in a certain situation, I can only see 3 sfirot while 10 exists. Everything exists of 10 sfirot, but I can only see 3 sfirot, or 5 sfirot, or 7. Wherever human blindness, inner blindness occurs, impure strengths come sucking. And wherever a person shows clarity, it means that in that situation, the evil principle is already connected. It has disappeared at that level, as it were. Evil principle means at a certain level, a certain coarsening, vagueness. When I receive strength or I correct myself, whereby I bring the vagueness to clarity in the place where there was vagueness, I bring light. At that moment, the evil principle doesn't work. It has no strength there. We must ensure that we try to bring everything to fullness. Therefore, it is no 50-50. It is 100% clarity, searching for 100% clarity or nothing. Or you say, forget it. I go back to this world and live for myself, my ego. Then you choose that. But you can't run from it. Gradually, you will be called again to search for the right path by means of misery or whatever. So you can say that the good principle is to the right side. The evil principle is not to the left side, because that is all holy. Din, justice, is holy. But at the bottom of man is his ego, his not corrected part, a mixture of impure strengths and good sparks of light. This mixture we call the evil principle. Everything that is already corrected we call the good principle. In this mixture are good sparks, but if there is more bad, then we call it the evil principle. The evil principle always attaches to the din, the left side. Din also means holiness, but it has shortage of strengths. For instance, din could be experiencing the lower seven sfirot. That's fine. It's not complete or perfect, but it is holy. Din is experiencing the name Elohim, of the Creator. That is the name of the Creator, but that one experiences as a severe master. But it is holy too. The good and merciful name is the 4-letter name. This is the 4-letter name of the Creator, and if a person experiences this name in a situation, he experiences the Creator in his quality of merciful master. Therefore, the great Kabbalists, the greatest and holiest ones, could justify the whole world, everything that happened. Why? They saw in everything the four-letter name, 10 Sfirot. They saw that the operating system of the Creator is absolutely merciful and absolutely good, but there is always the din in it. Nothing disappears in the spiritual. It is the law of the universe, and we have to learn this already. If I correct myself, then I first experience these two, din and rachamim. When I gradually progress in correcting myself, whereby I bring upwards all these holy sparks, then suddenly I only experience rachamim, as it were. But then you say to me, the world is not created that way because always these two exist. But I have already cashed all that. I have all that in myself. But above all that, I have risen above the din. For example, first I have experienced the Creator in situations as a severe master. After, I have corrected myself even higher, then suddenly in more situations I gradually experience him as Avaya, the merciful master, because of my corrections, and not that I say the Creator is good. He is good. While I am not corrected, that is worth nothing. That's what the Mass does. But because of the inner work I have done, I feel and know and experience that the whole operating system is righteous. I feel it. It means that I grew out of the name of Din in that situation. Din exists, absolutely, but I grew out of it. That's what the prophet said. I have accomplished the Torah. Torah means din. All the laws of Moses are din. You will not do this, you will not do that. What does that mean? Everything is holy, but man has to fulfill these laws also with hand and feet, and has to feel the din, severity. And after he has corrected himself, he will experience rachamim with the din in it. For the populace, however, it will always be din. They will always feel that the Creator is severe. Why? They don't work on themselves. They don't work on their ego. They work on their needs, wishes. All the life of the common populace is that they feel that the Creator is severe. Why severe? Because they don't work on themselves. Therefore, Torah has been written, as it were, from the din, the laws. All is absolutely holy. But if a person obeys the laws and does extra and progresses with more and more surrender, then he will start to see the whole Torah, and he will come in the world Atzilut. What do I mean by common populace? The condition of the populace, like my people who only do with hand and feet, of course they also experience mercy on Shabbat, but during weekdays it is a severe master for them. If I work on myself, plow through myself in order to become the master over my self-love by bringing sparks upwards, and eventually for me that din will change into rachamim, mercy. Does the din then stop to exist? No, severity exists. Some experience it all as severe. I say that the time right now is great, but someone else might say, I wouldn't think so. That is because he doesn't work on himself. For him, these are bad times. He becomes older and he's able to do less things, also less bad things, but in his perception it all remains bad, while for you the world has to become better every day. It is up to you to experience whether the world is good or bad. If you say that the world is bad, it means that you fall short and you cling more to the din. That is holy too, but you fall short. When you have corrected yourself more and more, then you experience the laws that have been given to Moses as severe laws. You experience them as mercy. That's why the prophet said, I have accomplished the Torah. And the whole idea is that each person accomplishes the Torah, and at the end of that time, the Torah, as it were, vanishes. What does that mean, the Torah vanishes? How can the Torah vanish? When the din disappears from a person, when the din disappears after a person has corrected himself, then he doesn't need the laws anymore. The laws are, as it were, already notched in his heart. Look in our world, for instance, the prescription not to steal. Cars are outside. Does anyone feel the need to steal a car or something else? Some people still steal, but most of us don't. It is already notched in our heart. You have already overcome. So too the Torah. First you have to learn the laws. You learn the laws at the level of asiyah. That means only to do with the hand and feet. One can fulfill the laws at the level of asiyah. What is asiyah? What are the qualities of asiyah? Just as an example, 90% or the major part is evil. in the experience of man, and 10% is good. So a person that lives in Asiyah or fulfills the Torah feels for 90% the operating system as din, and 10% he feels as rachamim. This means that you feel that the mercy of the reality that you experience is for 10% good, and for the major part it is evil, bad. If a person fulfills the Torah, the laws in our world, in Asiyah, it means that he only does this with hand and feet. That is Asiyah. Maybe he wears a talit just like me. He does it in the morning. He doesn't know why and doesn't interest him. He must physically wear that thing, just like me, but he doesn't know what it is. He doesn't even look at it. He doesn't care. He wears it since his childhood. That means that it won't help him. Why not? He's not corrected at the level that he can experience it, where it comes from because every prescription descends from a particular world, from Asiyah or Yetzirah or Bria or Atzalut. So someone who does Torah in the world Asiyah experiences 90% din and 10% rachamim. This corresponds to the learning Torah simply as it is, like a story. The story of Moses or the story of whatever, without any depth. Then, for instance, someone who learns the same Torah whereby he receives the light from Yetzirah. Yetzirah is 50% din and 50% rachamim. Everything is in me. Everything is in me. In me is also the possibility and the chance to see the world as it really is, and there are different variations. Yetzirah means that I have already corrected myself, whereby I see the world and I experience myself and the world as well as 50-50. Someone can go further to Bria, and that is, for example, learning the Mishnah, the codes, laws, learning the holy laws, but only as they are, while in Asiyah it was just learning the story. Moses went there, did this, etc. But there's also a strength that gives a person the strength of Asiyah. And when someone learns about the laws, Mishnah, and these things, then he receives light from a higher step. Yetzirah Bria is 90% Rachamim and 10% Din. It's all Torah, and that is already learning about the explanations of the laws higher. It is all Torah of our world. The Torah that man learns, whereby man hasn't yet fulfilled the Torah fully. What is Atzalut? That I absolutely value, not only the physical fulfilling and simple fulfilling of the Torah, the laws, but that I also try to surrender myself completely to these laws, completely. When I come to the experience of Atzalut, Atzalut means 100%, not fully 100%, because that only comes after the coming of the Messiah. Let's say that Atzalut approaches that 100%. That's the moment that I won't be needing the Torah anymore. What does that mean? Torah exists forever, but I have worked my way up through all these worlds, all these steps of our world. Asiyah, Yetzirah, Bria, and I came to Atzalut. And there I experience as the bad principle in me has completely transformed to transparent light, goodness. We see this also at Ari. He also says, who comes to experiencing Atzalut accomplishes the Torah completely. Such a person doesn't need the Torah anymore. The Torah is finished, and then a person is called the Son of God. That's it, nothing else. The Son of God, that was begotten by the Holy Spirit. All is begotten by the Holy Spirit. Also in our world, everybody is begotten by the Holy Spirit. The Father gives the seed, and the Mother gives the physical, the cells, and the third is the Holy Spirit, God Himself, who gives the nefesh, the neshama, to the fruit of man. However, it is up to man to return to the real Father. It has been said, the Father in heaven, I have a Father on earth who has sowed the seed physically, and I also have a Father who is an immortal Father, who has given me my soul. Not my Father has given me my soul. My Father only has given me my hereditary material. That's why we always have two fathers, an earthly father and a heavenly Father. We can always speak of our Father. It is the task of man to accomplish the Torah. First Torah appears, a child tries to learn the Torah. He feels the din, the strengths. He is mad at the Torah because Torah deprives him of his strengths, as it were. He feels that the world is din, severity, and step by step, man has to grow up until he comes through the din. The din exists, but he comes through it, just like clouds. They exist, but if you fly above them, the sun always shines. The same is in our world, exactly the same. Our world has been created exactly the same, only we have to produce strengths to come through all these clouds, all these coarsenings of light. We go through very heavy coarsenings in Asiyah, a little less heavy coarsenings in Yetzirah, and even thinner in Bria and Atzilut. When we come to Atzilut, then man is being called the Son of God. Last time I said that I sit in Atzilut all day. What does it mean to be in Atzilut? It doesn't mean that I have reached the step of Atzilut. I just meant to say that I draw the light from Atzilut because I learn Kabbalah. Kabbalah is Atzilut with all the other parts. Kabbalah means that we draw the light directly from Atzilut. Do you understand? But I'm not there already. How do I draw light from Atzilut? Through meditation? No. Through my feelings? No. The great Master Ari wrote all from Atzilut. When I read that, and I try the whole day too, of course, I have thoughts all day long, even sinful thoughts. My flesh is flesh. Sinful thoughts regularly, the whole day. One moment you're in Atzilut, and the other moment you fall down. It is constantly working on yourself. One moment Atzilut, the other moment you're closer to the red light district. I mean, everything is close together, but up to us is the choice. The choice is up to us, and that is great. When you learn Kabbalah, then the most strong radiation, the most strong light comes from Atzilut. That's why someone who learns Kabbalah takes the fastest way to his fulfillment. Why? The light from Atzilut is the most thin, the most airy light, the most strong light, and the least coarsened light. For instance, when you're going to eat, how much potatoes do you need to saturate, or how much lettuce do you need to be saturated? In Kabbalah, we only receive from Atzilut, light from Atzilut. We always receive the best steak. We are directly being fed from above with the best light, the best food for the soul. Please refer in the written materials to drawing 27, and which shows the right side, Rachamim, mercy and love, and the left side, which is Din, justice, severity, and the middle line. Also showing the formulas of the eternal temple, the personal eternal temple, and the eternal temple of the whole mankind. Also refer to another drawing, drawing 26, and this drawing, self-explanatory, showing the worlds, Atzilut, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah, the point of our world, and other commentaries on the drawing.